Namanda, 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 namanda. Good morning, everyone. Ohayo gozaimasu. Welcome to our family service for today. Nice to have you all here and there, and appreciate your presence and your participation in this service. So if you notice, we have another family guest here today sharing our podium. This is Bear the Bear. So a couple of years ago, when we made a trip to Anchorage, Alaska, we were able to adopt Bear, and maybe for a month and a half ago, you might remember COVID Moose. And so Moose and Bear grew up in Alaska, and they wanted to become part of our family, so he's here. Also here, down below, are the Sloth family, Sadie, Sho, and Suki. You might remember they were here last week for the Sho Suki service, and they're on their way home, made a stop to put donation into the Osaisen Bako, and so they're donating to the temple, and so happy that they were able to participate in our services here at the Southern Alameda County Buddhist Church. So if you notice, everyone, Sloth family and Bear the Bear, they have their masks on and continuing to be here to remind us to be safe and cautious, looking out for everyone in our circles and looking out for ourselves as well, to continue to wear the masks and their gloves, and wherever they go, they do this for everyone's concern and everyone's safety. And so you can notice also that they all have their oninju on, so like we are, they are ready for service. Hopefully you are ready for your service at your homes and have adorned the home obutsudan, home altars, with whatever you have that is your practice, flowers and fruits, rice offerings, maybe donut this time, or whatever you might have. So hopefully you are all prepared and you have your materials copied and ready to participate in service. And so we will begin. First, I'll let you know what the service order is. Today we'll have the reading of the 3 treasures, and then the Raisanmon. I'll go up to the Onaijin, and we'll chant the Sambujo and the Juseige. This will be followed by a silent meditation. Then I'll come back for a brief Dharma message, okay? So we'll begin with the 3 treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One, now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the 3 treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Raisanmon. Ninjin ukegatashi imasudeni uku. Buppo kikigatashi imasudeni kiku. Konomi konjo ni mukatte dosezumba sarani izure no sho ni mukatte ka konomi o dosen. Daishu moro tomo ni shishin ni sambo ni kieshi tatematsuru beshi. Mizu kara butsu ni kieshi tatematsuru. Masani negawaku wa shujo to tomo ni. Daido taige shite ujoi o okosan. 自ら法に帰依し立てまつる朝に願わくば主情とともに深く共存に入りて知恵海のごとくならん。自らそうに帰依し立てまつる朝に願わくば主情とともに大衆を通りして一切無下ならん。無常人人未妙の法は百千万号にも愛用ことかたし、我今検問し従事することを得たり、願わくば如来の真実義を消し立てまつらん。ナモ阿弥陀仏、ナモ阿弥陀仏、ナモ阿弥陀仏、ナマンダー、ナマンダー、ナマンダー。三部上、中世下。ナマンダー、ナマンダー、ナマンダー、ナマンダー。 不採証明政府上昇学假使上分の名称長実法空教意証文政府上昇学利欲人少年超越宗門業死具無浄土一生天人死人力現代公不傷無才道少女三苦名交際集約難海一永遠滅死根門案永息小悪道通乱前修門高僧上満足異様老実法日願修十期天候不言一種解放像公正苦毒法上大集中説法ししく供養一切物具足習得音観念心上満得意三害用女分無下地通難未不詳感覚営利投資最小損志願薬効果大聖の感動国書天人東神妙見Silent meditation. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Namanda, Namanda. Good morning again, everyone. It's nice to be able to share this family service with you. Today I was going to talk about this quote from the Tanisho, and so please join me in Gassho as I read this quote. Even a good person is born in the Pure Land. How much more so is an evil person? Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Some of you, maybe many of you, have heard this quote before from the Tanisho and attributed to Shindan Shonin, and it's kind of shows a different perspective of Shindan Shonin as he expresses himself in the perspective of our Jodo Shinshu teachings. So even a good person is born in the Pure Land. How much more so is an evil person? And the normal thought process would be to look at it the other way around. Even an evil person is born in the Pure Land. How much more so is a good person? But it's flipped. And so this is what makes Shindan's thought and the Jodo Shinshu teachings very, very unique. This is perhaps the most famous passage among Shindan's writings, and it's kind of a paradoxical, radical thought. Totally different perspective of religion. And it makes us think, what is the purpose of religion? Is it to congratulate the righteous, or is it to provide hope and direction for those who really struggle in life? So the normal way to think of it is to see how a good person deserves more, to be elevated to a special level. But this one is saying, the evil person, this person who is struggling, not just evil, but struggling in life, having conflicts and difficulties, this is who the teachings are addressed to. And so these are the people who are struggling in life, and not they, we. This is we. We are the people who are struggling. And so this is the thought process. Some of you may have had a class in Buddhism or read portions of the Tanisho. This is in chapter 3. Sometimes we have study classes offered at the temple that we participate in, or I've taken some classes through the Center for Buddhist Education, and we learn some of these things. So to consider this quote brings you into delving into Shin Buddhism and the Nembutsu teachings. And so recently I was looking at this story, a short pamphlet, not even a book, a pamphlet from Toshiko Kawamura, and she was writing her own story. She had grown up as a very devout Christian, in a devout Christian family, and she was very much a follower of her teachings. And so she was going to get married to a person, Japanese person as well, and his family was, a long line of Jodo Shinshu followers in Japan. And part of her agreement to get married was that she was the only child, and so they wanted someone to carry on the family name, and so they asked that to be part of the equation of their getting married, that he would take on her family name. And then it so happened that his older brother, who was going to continue their family, was killed, lost his life, and so he would be the one that would have to take on their family name. So there's this little conflict going on. And a second part of their agreement was that she would be able to continue her devotion to her Christian faith. So all these things were agreed upon. The first one was changed to accommodate the husband's family, but she was able to continue with her Christian teachings. And this is during World War II in Japan. They were going to live in Tokyo, the big city, and she was very highly educated, college education, and not everyone had that in those days. And so one of the things she was looking forward to was being able to live in Tokyo, a major city where she had access to so many things. But because of the conditions of the war, it was more dangerous in Tokyo. And so they decided it would be best for her to go and live with her mother and father-in-law in the countryside in Japan, while the husband would stay himself in Tokyo. So after they figured this out, that she would be safer in the country, she was kind of looking forward to living over there, and so she would be able to spread the Christian teachings that she felt so dear to. And so she was looking forward to meeting the parents-in-laws and going there, and she had this preconceived notions of how it would be in the countryside. They were not educated, they were following this Buddhist practice, and she had come to know it to be idol worshiping and such a primitive beliefs and religions that these people, the poor people of Japan, were centering their lives on. So she thought she could show them and share Christianity, a more advanced teachings with them. So she went there and to live with them. And when she first came, they all welcomed her so highly and warmly welcoming her into the house. And she was pleasantly surprised that she would get this kind of reaction. At the same time, she thought she deserved such a reaction because she was coming from the big city, from so well educated, and thought she was a little more developed than they were there in the country. And so she came in, and they treated her from the beginning very well. And each evening, for several months, every evening, they would sit down together, and she would tell them about her Christian faith, and they would listen intently. So, I see, and listen. They were not waver in their own understanding and gratitude of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, but they listened intently and enjoyed conversation with her and appreciated what she was able to share with them. So this went on for months and months, and so, but they never changed. They were always warm, always kind to her and to everyone else. And so the way they lived, they would hear about teachers coming to the area. They might come to a different temple, and they're all kind of far. You would have to walk some distance to reach these temples, and they would go there. And not only would they go there, they'd go with the people that they worked with, and they'd all walk together and come home after the talk and discuss what the sensei had said. So really enjoying and appreciating the sharing of the Dharma. And so this is how they lived their life. In a sense, work was secondary to listening to the Dharma, and this is how they lived every day of their lives. And so as she watched them go through their lives, she kind of was wondering, what this Buddhism, what do they do at these gatherings and stuff? And she wasn't questioning her own faith, but trying to wonder what they encountered when they went. So she asked if she could join them the next time they went to a temple. And so they encouraged her to join them, and they all went together, walking quite some ways to the temple where a talk was going to be given. And so when they got there, she was a little bit surprised. The temple was not a particularly nice place, it was a little bit dilapidated, thatched roofs and not a real nice tiled roof or anything, kind of dark inside and dimly lit. And inside, when she went in, all the farmers are gathered there, so they're not dressed particularly well. They have their work clothes on and came in from the fields, and so they're sitting there quietly, humbly, and listening. And then the sensei came in and gave his talk. And so she was observing and watching all this, and she thought surely she could understand anything and more that they could understand, since they were not as educated as she was. And so this quote is what the sensei was talking about. Even a good person is born in the Pure Land. How much more so is an evil person? So this didn't make sense to her. It's contrary to rational thought process. So what does this mean? And she was kind of wrestling with it and wondering, and she could tell by the people's reaction and by her own intuition that this is a special talk. This is a very nice talk. And so at the end of the service, she kind of barged into the resting area where the sensei was and asked him a little bit more and asked him about the quote. And he ended up giving her a copy of the Tanisho that she could take with her. And she read this, and through that she was able to look at some of the other things that Shinran had said and came to have a very appreciation of Shinran's thought process and thought of him very, very highly. She didn't change her Christian faith, but she thought very highly of him and came to consider him a treasure of the world, not just of Japan or not just of Shin Buddhism, but in all world thought. He is someone very, very special. And so she had developed this real respectful attitude towards Shinran Shonin, and continued to live at the house and trying to here and there looking a little bit more at what the Nembutsu teachings were and studying about Buddhism in general, but still hanging on, clinging to her own Christianity. But a little bit of doubt started to come in. She's wondering, they're accepting here in Shin Buddhism, accepting everyone as they are with all their faults. And in Christianity, even she remembered a time when she approached a teacher of hers, expressing her doubts, her faith, wavering of faith in God. And so she was admonished by her teacher that this just shows you, how weak your faith in God is. So, you should reprimand yourself and never have this kind of doubt in your own faith and belief in God. And so she had this, you couldn't show your shortcomings as a person, and you would hide them rather than explore them. And this was very different than what Shinran Shonin is teaching. When his student had doubts in the teachings, he would tell his disciple, oh yes, I had the same doubts myself. Let's explore this together. And this kind of warmly welcoming them to step into the realm of the Nembutsu. And so she was kind of perplexed that they would have this type of approach. Shinran would have this type of approach. And finally it got to a boiling point, and she said, I have to seek some more. And she told her parents-in-law that she's going to leave. Maybe she can't just take care of her kids. She has to find out the truths and resolve these questions in her life. And so the parents told her, don't worry about the kids. We'll take care of them. Go and listen to any teachings. Go anywhere you need to go to find the truths that you need to find. And the father-in-law also told her, just by your questions, you've already been embraced by the Nembutsu. And so she went and for some time continuing to search, and she came to appreciate and understand this Nembutsu teachings. And so she was not sure how, even when she came to say the Nembutsu quite on her own, so many times she remembered that she did not want to say the Nembutsu. Even when the parents and in-laws were saying it out loud, she thought maybe they're saying it out loud just to bother me, just to push my buttons in a way. And so this was not the case. And finally she was able to say the Nembutsu quite on her own and felt that these are not my words. They came to me through Amida. And so this is a sense of the process that everything is received. Everything is received. Even the practice that we do comes from not ourselves, but from Amida to us. And so this is kind of her struggle, moving from Christianity to the nuances of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. And so again, we can look at what is the purpose of religion. Is it just to congratulate the righteous people, or is it to address the hope and provide hope and direction to those who are struggling? And so really causes us to look all the more deeply into what religion is, what Jodo Shinshu is, how the Nembutsu works. So I would like to close this service and read this quote one more time. Please listen carefully and consider this again. Even a good person is born in the Pure Land. How much more so is an evil person? Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Please come up and oshoko here and there at your homes, however you have set up to offer incense or pebbles or petals or whatever you have, okay? Thank you very much for being here.